What's up, guys? This is so exciting. This is my very first legit, real podcast episode. I am so excited to finally be sharing this with you guys. I decided to have the first episode be more of a lighter, more fun tone. I'm going to just kind of dive in deep on a weekend that me and my friend had in Vegas. Keep in mind that this is pre-recorded, so you might hear a slight change in my voice as the story starts. But this event did take place July 4th of 2021. Enjoy! So I want to talk about the time that I finessed me and one of my best friends into the Miley Cyrus concert in Las Vegas. So basically, I was living in Las Vegas at the time, and it was the 4th of July, and I really wanted to do something fun, but didn't really know what to do. You know, going down to the Strip in Las Vegas on a major holiday is fun, but can also be really annoying because there's just so many people. The roads get blocked off, the traffic is insane. Trying to stay on the Strip is just absolutely expensive. And I didn't really want to do that. I didn't really have a lot of friends at the time living in Las Vegas, so I was kind of just planning on chilling at home and doing whatever. I had heard probably like a month before the 4th of July that Miley Cyrus would be headlining a set at the brand new hotel at Resorts World at the Hilton. And I was like, wow, that would be really cool to see. And how it works is basically it's like a club. So, you know, people perform at clubs all the time and you buy a ticket, you get on the guest list, you get in for free or however. And I was like, I wonder if it's going to work the same because this is a brand new hotel. It's a brand new club. So they probably have promoters. And I had a feeling it wasn't going to work the same for this event since it was literally like the kickoff of this brand new hotel. And obviously Miley Cyrus is a really big performer. I've been going to clubs ever since college. I have a lot of different promoters that I use for different clubs and so on. And I've kind of just figured out how to navigate the system. So I texted one of my promoters and I was like, hey, do you know what's going on with this new hotel? Like, are they going to have promoters? Do you know if there's a way to get in to see Miley Cyrus on that 4th of July opening night? And they were like, yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Like, it's such a big event. You're going to have to buy a ticket. Like, I'm sure in the future they're going to have their promoters, you know, utilizing the guest list and the VIP things. But for this event specifically, I don't think so. And I was like, yeah, that's what I figured. And I looked online and the tickets to get in were like $200, $350. And I was like, yeah, absolutely not. And okay, so like a month goes by. I don't know what possessed me to think about this, but I was on my way to the movies with my parents actually. And again, I don't know why, but I was like, I wonder if anything's changed with this event. It was July 3rd at the time. And so I texted one of my other promoters and I asked him the same question, you know, assuming I was going to get the same response. And he responds and he goes, yeah, we can make that happen. Like, I can get you on the guest list and in for free. And I was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, I was told that this wasn't possible. And he's like, well, you're not asking the right person then. And a lot of these promoters are like really competitive because they all kind of work against each other. And, you know, they want to get as many people as they can into their club. And I don't know. And so now I had to find someone to go with. And I had one friend in mind who is a huge Miley Cyrus fan. Like, we're both really big fans, but she's like on another level of Miley Cyrus fan. Like, she had like the bangers, like middle finger keychain, like on her car and her car keys. She'd like bring it everywhere she went. So I was like, she would love to go to this. The only issue is that she does not live in Las Vegas. She lives in Orange County, California. But she's one of those people who you can call on a moment's notice and be like, do you want to go do this? And she'll figure it out. She'll do it. Like, she's done crazy things where she flew to New York on like a week's notice just for fun. Costed her a ton of money. She didn't care. She just wanted to go and be with her friends and have fun. I could call her and be like, hey, I'm flying to Japan next week. Like, are you down to come with? And she'd be like, yeah, for sure. And she'd like figure out a way to take time off of work and find the money and make it happen. Like, she's just one of those very spontaneous, fun loving, likes to go out and do things kind of person. So I was like, she would totally figure out a way to get here by tomorrow to go and see this concert. I'm actually gonna pull up the text between us. I thought it was just hilarious how random this was. Like, we hadn't been talking that day. Okay, wait, here it is. Okay, yeah, I texted her Saturday, July 3rd at 6:47 p.m. Come to Vegas. We can see Miley Cyrus for free. And she responds, OMG, down, when? And I say, tomorrow, LOL. And she goes, OMG, going to look at flights. And then I tell her, like, oh, she's performing here. This is what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And she said, there's an 8 a.m. flight tomorrow. Do I do it? And I'm like, is it expensive? And she's like, no, not really. And I'm like, okay, well, totally up to you. And she's like, I'm pretty tempted. She's like, I don't have any plans. Like, I may as well. And then she books her flight. So I have her flight details here too. Yeah, so she flew in on the 4th of July at 8 a.m. I picked her up at the airport, and we ended up actually coming back to my house where I lived with my family at the time. And then we actually booked a cheap hotel room on the Strip that was like a mile away from the new hotel opening. Because like I said, it's absolutely insane when you're down on the Strip. You can't go anywhere. If I had tried to Uber back home after the whole fireworks extravaganza after midnight, like, it would have been so expensive to get back, like probably more than a hotel room itself. So we ended up splitting a cheap hotel room. It cost us each, like, I don't know, like maybe $80 or something like that. And then it was funny, she ended up getting a return flight back for literally the next day. So she flew in July 4th at 8 a.m. We went out all night, and then she flew back to Orange County at 7:30 in the morning on July 5th, which I thought was insane. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do to see Miley. So anyways, back to the story. I pick up my friend, you know, we grab some alcohol. We kind of just like bop around. We still have like a lot of time before it's time to go out. And so it was actually funny because at the time I had been kind of casually seeing this guy, and originally I had plans to hang out with him and like hang out with his friends on the 4th of July. So I literally had nothing else going on. So I was like, I mean, why not? And I was funny because I had texted him the day of, and I was like, I got a way to get in and see Miley Cyrus, and my friend's here, so I'm gonna go do that instead. And he was like, oh, like, bummer, I can't see you, but like, that's cool. So we ended up like meeting up with him on the Strip for like an hour and just kind of like saying hi, and my friend met him, and that's like a whole other story. But yeah, that was fun. We just kind of like hung out down on the Strip with him for an hour, and then me and her actually went to the new hotel just kind of like check it out and like see where exactly the club was when we like knew where to go later on in the night. And the hotel was beautiful. Like, we were walking around, there were a bunch of like YouTube personalities there. My friend's like super into that too, so she was like, oh my god, like, that's blah blah blah, and I'm like, I have no idea who that is, but cool. We ended up seeing one of the realtors from Selling Sunset walking around, which that was cool. So again, this was the grand opening of this brand new hotel in Las Vegas. It was a really big deal, and that's why there were so many, I guess, famous people there. So we have lunch at this hotel, and then we decide to head back to our own hotel to start getting ready because Miley is scheduled to go on at exactly 9 p.m. And usually in Vegas, performers don't go on till 1 or 2 in the morning sometimes. But because this was a holiday and a special pre-planned event, it made sense that she'd be going on at a slightly earlier time. So we're back at our hotel, we're getting ready, blasting Miley, of course, just having fun, and then we decide to leave the hotel around, I think we left around 7:30, I want to say. And it was interesting because earlier in the afternoon when we had walked to the hotel, it took us maybe 20 minutes, but because now we're in dresses and heels, we're not going to walk that far because that would be painful. So we call an Uber, and that itself takes a long time because there's so many people on the Strip trying to get around places. So I would say that took us maybe 20 to 30 minutes just to get our Uber. And then once we actually got into our Uber, what would normally be a 5-minute drive to this 1 mile away hotel, again, took us like 15-20 minutes to get there. So we're already kind of stressed because we're like, okay, we have like less than an hour until she goes on, and we gotta like get inside. Thankfully, we knew where the club was and like how to get to it, so we had that under control. So we walk into the club and there's just people everywhere, and it's mostly women because of course it's like Miley Cyrus playing. Not a whole lot of men are trying to get into this. And like I said, how Vegas works is there's usually like a couple different lines. There's like the general admission line where people like buy a ticket or they pay to get in. There's the VIP table line where you like have a table that you pre-purchase and they like let you in right away. And then there's the guest list line, which is you have your name on like a list of the promoters. So you stand in that line, and it usually takes anywhere between 5 to maybe 30 minutes to get in. So it's pretty quick and nice. And again, the whole point of this is that you get in for free. You don't have to pay. And we get there, and I'm asking the people that work there, I'm like, where's the guest list line? And they're like, this is the line. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Like, this is like the main line. Like, this line was already so long. I thought this was like the general admission line. And they're like, no, like, it's all one line. And I'm like, what? Like, this makes no sense. Like, this is not how any other club works. And I kind of chalked it up to the fact that this is a brand new club, and they clearly did not know what they were doing. They didn't have it like very well organized yet. And people were just kind of like running around scrambling. And so we get in this line, and the first thing that happens to us is these group of girls are like, excuse me, like, you just cut us. And we're like, no, like, this is the line. And it wasn't like a straight line where it's like single file. It was kind of like curving, and people were like standing in groups. So it kind of like was one of those lines. And she's like, no, like, you're clearly like not in the line correctly. And I was just like honestly so stressed out making sure that we got in that I couldn't even like deal with this girl. But my friend, being the person she is, looks at her and she goes, we're in line just like you, like, relax. I'm glad she was able to say something because my anxiety was too high to be able to communicate with this very annoying girl. So props to my friend for being able to get in there and put her in her place. And so at this point, it's probably like 8:15, and the line's not moving. Keep in mind, Miley's going on in about 40 minutes. And so I think we stood in that line for like 10 minutes, and I was like, it's not moving at all. Like, we gotta figure something out because we're not gonna get in. Like, we're gonna miss it. And so I'm like, okay, you stay in the line. I'm gonna like walk up more towards the entrance and see like if there's like a way to get in. My thoughts were like, if we find a group of guys who like bought a table or like have something and I can like talk to them and like ask them if we can walk in with them, like, we'll get in. So because I've been to Vegas so many times and I understand the system, I had a good feeling I could figure out a loophole of getting us in quicker, and there's always a plan B. I just had to think of it. So I tell my friend to stay in line just in case while I go and try to figure out another way for us to get in. So I walk over and I'm texting my friend the whole time, like updating her. I'm like, is the line moving? And she's like, nope. So that's not good to hear. And like I said, I was on the prowl for groups of only men because that's usually the fastest ticket in. It's not going to be very helpful to me to find a group of guys that are also with a group of girls because as a girl, you probably don't want other random girls joining in on you with your guys, especially if they're your boyfriend. So I was just on the lookout for groups of men. And again, there were none present due to this being a Miley Cyrus concert, which was not good news for us. And so I'm standing around this like VIP table area for probably like 20 more minutes. Again, I'm panicking because I'm like, my friend flew all the way from like California for a night just to see Miley and do this with me. Like, if we cannot get in, I'm gonna be so upset. And like, we wasted our money at a hotel. So I'm like, I have to figure this out, and I have like 20 minutes to do it. So eventually I see these two dudes, and they're kind of in their own line. I'm not even sure what it was. It was not the regular admission line. It was not what they were calling the guest list line or the VIP table line. It was just kind of their own thing. But at this point, I didn't even care. I just needed to figure out a way to get in very quickly. And I'm talking to them, and I'm kind of just like playing dumb. I'm like, hey, do you know if this is like the guest line, or like what's going on? And both of these guys were dressed very down, like not the usual Vegas attire for men. They were wearing like jeans and like Converse and just kind of like a random like sweatshirt type of thing. Like neither of them were very like well put together, I would say. And so they tell me that they talked to some of the Hilton workers who were all wearing these red shirts, and that they told them to just go get in this line and they could get in that way. And I even double check with them and say, so you guys are on the guest list? And they're like, yeah, this is where they told us to go. And so I watch these two dudes who are not dressed up in any capacity go up to the bouncer who's patrolling this area of the lines, and they go up to him. And they're like, yeah, like, we're here for this, and told the bouncer dude, like, yeah, they told us to come over here. Here's our name. And the dude lets them in. And I'm like, there's no freaking way that these two dudes who aren't even dressed up, they're both guys, which in Vegas is like not a good thing. Like, you want to have girls with you. You want to have that even ratio. Like, you want to look good. And I'm thinking to myself, there's no way these dudes are going to get in, and we're not. I have to risk it all right now. So I text my friend and I tell her to get over here right now and to hurry. And she is very hesitant at first, and she tells me, are you sure? We're gonna lose our place in line. And I'm like, we're not gonna make it into the club at all if we stay in that line. Like, you're still like 60 people back. So I see my friend run over in her tight little dress and her big heels with a very scared look on her face. And this is where I flip the switch, turn on my charm. I go out to the same bouncer guy who just let these two dudes in, and I'm like, hey, we're on the guest list. And he's like, guest list line's over there, like pointing to where we just came from. And I'm like, oh, well, the Hilton guys said that we could get in this line over here. And he's like, who told you this? He did not sound happy. He sounded extremely pissed off. And I just responded with, oh, some guy in a red shirt. And like I said before, all the Hilton workers were wearing red shirts. So there was no way for me to get one person in trouble because they were all wearing the same thing. I was just like, I don't know, some dude in a red shirt. Like, I don't know. And he goes, oh, well, I mean, they're not supposed to be doing that, but show me the text message. And by this, he meant that when you get put on a guest list, your promoter will send you a text with like all the details of the night, saying where to go, what time to be there, dress code, your name, stuff like that. So I show him the text, and he goes, all right, go on in. And the moment I heard these words, all the stress I could feel just leaving my body at once, like my risk paid off. So we walk in, and then they check our IDs. I show the people the text again. They're like, all right, go on in. And I'm like, I cannot believe we just did that. And then like those snooty girls who were in line behind us yelling, we're still in line. We had 8 minutes until Miley was supposed to go on. So we sprint to the bathroom, quickly just go over the events that just occurred. And then we walk over to the stage, and we're just like patiently waiting for her. My friend and I just keep looking at each other in just total awe of the fact that we actually did that. We actually got in, and our plan actually kind of worked. I don't want to say that I had to lie my way in, because I was on the guest list. I just was not going to accept the fact that a club that was just extremely disorganized due to it being its first night out didn't quite know what they were doing. And luckily, as someone who, like I said, has been to a lot of clubs, I was able to finesse the system. And there was just no way that these two dudes who didn't even look like they belonged in a Vegas nightclub we're gonna get in over me and my friend who were very dressed up and like had this whole thing planned. Like I was not gonna let that happen. All right, so like I said, we finally make our way in, you know, we kind of get ourselves together and we start standing by the stage, and we're actually really, really close, and we're trying to kind of get as close as we can because this is obviously like a free concert and Miley Cyrus is going to be right in front of us. And we look around and the people around us, the vibes just don't match. Like I see people wearing Converse, Nike tennis shoes, jeans, like t-shirts. I'm just confused how these people got in, and I just kind of chalk it up to they probably paid that $350 ticket to get in, and somehow we're in a separate line that maybe I didn't know about, and that's how they got in. I don't know. I didn't really care anymore because I was finally in. But at the same time, it's like the dress code was obviously not being enforced. And why am I in here wearing a skin tight short dress and very painful high heels? Like doing everything I can to make sure that I look the part and I'm good enough to get in when there's like these random people who looked like they just like walked out of a movie theater. And it was a strange venue too, because you would think that they would want it as packed as possible because they paid so much money. Like, I'm sure she was paid thousands to be there. The venue itself was kind of weird because they were using their day club, not their nightclub. So there's this giant pool in the middle of the venue. And I was surprised because it was actually not that filled with people at all. And she was going on in legit 5 minutes. And I'm looking around thinking, there's so much room in here. And usually in Vegas clubs, it's like packed with people, especially when someone really cool is headlining. And I'm like, wouldn't they want to get all the money they could and like let these people in? Like, it didn't make sense to me how the line outside wasn't moving. So we do what we can and we make our way as close as we can to the front. I would say we were equivalent to being 4 rows back from the stage, and it's a pit type of concert. So everyone's standing really close together type of thing. And she finally comes out exactly at 9 p.m. as planned, and it was so magical. She was wearing the cutest little Vegas outfit. Her outfit was 4th of July themed. She had a bedazzled flag type of skirt that was just, it was so short and so thin, but it's Miley. She can pull it off. Come on now. She brought out a drag queen that she was dancing with for the first few songs, just super Miley type stuff. And it was so fun to just see her in this super up close type of way. It got really hot outside because everyone was like packing into each other. My friend and I were absolutely just covered in sweat. There was really nothing we could do about it. We were trying really hard not to wipe the sweat off our face because we had all this makeup on. We were all glammed up, and if you start touching your face, the makeup starts to come off. And we should have expected this because it's the middle of July in Las Vegas. It's over 100 degrees. It's the 4th of July. It's packed with people. The venue is outside, so it's not air conditioned, and we just kind of had to deal with it. But she only played for about an hour. She played all her top songs. She ended up playing The Climb, which is like one of my favorite songs from her. It was really cool to see her in all her different phases. She was singing songs from her Hannah Montana days and then singing more of her current songs that she's more recently released. So just being able to see her in this way as someone that grew up watching Hannah Montana and had been to Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus concerts, this was a very cool thing to be a part of. And she ended up playing, is it Love Money Party? I think it is. It was either Love Money Party or 23 that she hadn't played in a really long time, like in like 7 years. And she played it again at this specific event, and that was really cool. Miley's just up there doing Miley things. You know, she's twerking. Someone threw their bra on stage and she put it on for a hot minute and was dancing around with it. You know, just typical concert stuff. And it was just cool to be a part of these fun little moments. And I have such good photos and videos from this that I'll post for you guys. And again, it was just a really cool thing that I got to be a part of with one of my really good friends. It ended right at 10 p.m., just like I thought it would. we were like, wow, we did like so much work just to see that 1 hour set, but it was like totally worth it. It was so fun. Me and my friend like make our way to the bathroom to see what we look like, and we're just hair's like matted and sweat and ruined. Makeup's like still kind of on but also kind of not on, and we're like, let's just take a minute and like cool off. So we go and we actually like put our feet in the pool, like the little like shallow area before you like walk in. We were just so hot and our feet were on fire from trying to like jump and dance in these high heels, so we just needed to sit down for a second. So we stick our feet in the pool, and I would say maybe like 15 minutes after her set had ended, the fireworks go off. And this is like very clearly just the Hilton Resorts World fireworks. They were right above us. It was honestly like one of the most magical things I've seen. I'm someone that loves fireworks, and I think they're so mesmerizing and so pretty. So we just sat there for, I think the show was maybe like 15 minutes or so, and they're like playing all this cool music, and the fireworks are like right above us, and we're like sitting in the pool, and people around us are like dancing and having fun, and I'm like, this just feels like we're really out here like living our best life right now. And it was really funny because my friend just, she didn't care about anything anymore. She put her feet in the pool with her like velvet heels still on. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, take your shoes off. And she's like, no, once I take them off, like, they're not coming back on. Like, so she has to keep her shoes on. So I have a video of my friend literally just soaking her feet in the pool with like these tall heels on, which is another just defining moment of her personality. But that was really fun. So we sit there, we watch the show, and then we're like, okay, what do we want to do now? Like, it's like 10:30, we're in Vegas, which is like so early, like it may as well be dinner time in Vegas. And we're like, well, we don't really want to stay here because this venue is kind of weird how it's laid out, and the people here just clearly don't really know what they're doing, so we didn't really want to be there anymore. So we decided to go to our favorite club, which is XS at Encore. And it's right across the street from where we're at. And we're like, perfect. And that club also happened to be where that guy who I mentioned earlier that I was casually seeing, he happened to also be there with his friends that night. And I guess it was like a night swim because XS has a pool. And sometimes they'll open up the club area with the pool, and you can like be in the club or in the pool. I don't know, it's weird. And my friend was like, should we go back and like freshen up our faces? And I'm like, by the time we get in an Uber, go back to the hotel, like we won't want to leave. So let's just go to the club. Like, who cares what we look like? We still look cute, even though our hair's matted and we're like sweating. So we start making our way over to Encore, and I'm texting my promoter from that club asking him if it's possible for us to get on the list last minute. And he texts me and he's like, yeah, I'll get you on like the late ad list. And I'm like, great. But by the time we get there, the line for that guest list is so long, because usually like if you get there early in the night, like around 9 or so, like you can get in pretty quickly. But because it was like already like 11 p.m., the line was really long. And I'm like, well, there's no way I'm waiting in this line. As you can tell, I have like zero patience whatsoever. So my friend and I are sitting on the steps that are directly right next to the line. Again, we were tired, we were hot, and our feet were hurting, and we did not want to deal with a line at this particular moment in time. And I text him and I'm like, is there any way you can get us to the front and like cut the line? Like, we just came from Hilton and we don't want to wait in the line. He doesn't respond for like 15 minutes, and then the security guard walks over and they're like, yo, like you can't sit here, like you gotta move or like get in line. And I'm like, okay. So we stand up and I text him again and I'm like, hey, like we're gonna go grab a drink in the hotel or like go somewhere else. Like, we just like don't want to wait in the line right now with where we were just at. And he responds back immediately and he's like, come to the front, like I'll get you in. And I'm like, oh, okay, great, amazing, fantastic. So we walk over and I'm like, hey. And he's like, yep, them too. And we just like walk in. And I'm like, are we having like a pretty like lucky night right now or something? Because this doesn't usually happen like this, where everything just kind of like falls into place. And then the night just like continues to elevate from there. So we get in and we're both really thirsty. Like, we don't want alcohol, we want water. We were just screaming Miley lyrics for an hour in the heat. We're absolutely parched, and water either one costs a ton of money.
But at that point, I didn't even care. Like, I was willing to dish out $8-9 for a Fiji water because I was just dehydrated and I needed water. But again, lines were just not in our favor tonight.
Clearly, I cannot wait in lines, if you guys can't tell.
The lines around every single bar there were crazy. It probably would have taken anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes to get a drink.
Or we can walk around the club and see if we get invited to a table, which this happens quite a lot when you're in Vegas.
So a quick rundown of what happens is mostly it's just groups of all guys who are buying a table for whatever reason. And for some reason, guys like to have girls that they don't know whatsoever at their table. So it's strange. I don't know why they do it, but they'll use the fact that they have alcohol to talk to girls and kind of lure them into their table. And I've always seen it like a currency exchange. You invite me into your table, I make your table look cool by having me and my friends there, and, in exchange, you'll give me a free drink or something like that. Vegas can be really expensive if you don't have a lot of money to spend $25-30 on this small little cocktail or, thing of beer. I will say I've never... It's funny. I've never gone out in Vegas and had to spend my own money. It's funny, I spend more money here at the bars in Phoenix and Scottsdale than I do when I'm actually out in Vegas, because there are so many of these groups of guys who will just bring women into their table. So it's very easy to get free things from them if you kind of know what to look for and what these types of groups of guys look like.
And like I said to my friend, I'm like, we could wait in this bar line for a half hour maybe to get a water, or we can walk around and maybe we'll get lucky and someone will invite us to a table, and with these tables they give you a big bucket of water, of Fiji water, and I'm like, that would be clutch. So I'm like, let's try that first. If it doesn't work out, then we'll obviously just go get in line.
So we get super lucky.
We walk right by kind of the DJ area on the outskirts, and there's
this group of 3 guys, and I remember the main guy telling me he was from Bollywood area. I'm not completely sure where that is, but he worked in Bollywood. These guys were also kind of dressed down, wearing jeans and kind of athletic wear, but they don't really care what you wear if you're purchasing an entire table because you're spending so much money, so it didn't really matter for them.
So I make eye contact with the guy, and he's like, do you guys want a drink? Do you want to sit down? You always have to kind of play it off oh, are you sure? We don't want to intrude. And they're always like, no, come in. And I'm like, okay. And so we walk in, and a lot of the times these guys are creepy. They'll try to touch you. They'll try to dance with you. Sometimes they want more than to just have you look good at their table.
And in those circumstances, you kind of need to evaluate the situation and decide if it's better for you to leave or not. And usually it's time to leave, so you gotta get out of there.
But luckily, these guys were actually really nice and respectful. They didn't try anything. We get in, they're like, do you want a drink? And then they offer us a drink, and they had a huge bucket of water. And so I think I waited 5 or 10 minutes, and then I asked the guy, you should always ask them too. Don't just take it.
If you ask nicely and politely, 99% of the time, they're gonna say yes.
And I was like, hey, do you mind if we grab a water? We're trying to stay out as late as we can, so we're trying to stay hydrated so we don't get too drunk. When in reality, I'm just absolutely parched and need water right this second. And they're like, yeah, of course. So we each grab a free Fiji water. We down that, and now we're ready to go. We're ready to party again. We can actually drink alcohol and have fun again. They ended up buying this big bottle of champagne that we were drinking. The table itself was really spacious. We could sit down or stand. And even though we were tired, I was like, we have to make we have to like talk to these guys a little bit because they're being so nice and they're not like trying anything. And usually I just like ask them like their name, like what they do, like why are you in Vegas, and just kind of like nod and smile, and I'll just ask them like tiny questions about themselves because these guys always love to talk about themselves. And then the main guy at one point, he goes, do you guys gamble? And we're like, no, like, we don't have the money for that, we don't really know what we're doing. And he's like, well, do you want to go gamble? And we're like, we don't have any money for that. And he's like, yeah, like I'll pay for it. If we make a profit, I'll split it with you guys. And at the club we're at, like they have little like gambling tables set aside so you can go and like pick whatever you want to play and like gamble. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I was like, what if we make like $10,000 or something? Like I didn't know what he was gonna bet.
So we end up going to play blackjack.
And it's like me on the end, like the guy in between me and my friend, and we have our drinks, we're sitting down, and it was basically just him playing, but he would ask us like, oh, what do you think we should do? Like, should we hit? Should we not? Like, so it was like he was in full control, but he would like ask us and be like, what do you think? And it was actually really fun to just like sit at a table with someone who like had all this money.
And he would ask us what our opinions were on what he should do. So if I said like, oh, hey, I think we should hit this round,
he'd be like, okay, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's try it out. And we ended up not making a profit. I think we lost like $100 or something. So we didn't get any money, but it was fun to sit there for like 45 minutes and just like watch people gamble, like get to sit with a drink in our hands. Like, it was actually really fun. And then we went back to the table and I think we hung out for like another hour or so. And it was really, really funny because I ended up seeing the guy that I was supposed to hang out with there. Like, I knew he was there, but I was like, I'll never find him. Like, this place is packed. He's probably wasted. But I'm standing at this table with my friend and these dudes, like, with drinks around us. And one of his friends, I can hear him, like, screaming my name. And I'm like, wait, what? Someone's calling me. And I turn around, and it's the guy I'm talking to's friend, like yelling my name, and he's like, hey, that's Shayna. And the guy and his friend look at me and they're waving, and I'm just like, hey, like I wave, and I like immediately turn around and just keep like hanging out with my friend and like doing my thing. And so it was kind of cool that I thought it made me look cool, like, hey, I'm doing my own thing. Like, I don't know, I thought it was kind of like a power move because this guy ended up doing me pretty dirty later on. So I thought that was kind of cool that I totally just like looked at him and was like, whatever. So I think it hits about 1:30 in the morning. Like, me and my friend have been out since like 8 p.m. because of Miley, and we're exhausted, we're tired. My friend's flight is at 7 a.m. that morning. And we're like, okay, we gotta go back to the hotel. So we tell the guys that we're leaving. We thanked him for being so nice to us and for the experience. And he was actually nice. Like, usually when guys are like annoying or creepy, I'll just like leave and I won't say anything. But I actually liked these guys and like had a really good time with them. So we like told them we're leaving and thank you so much. We go back to the hotel. Our feet are like absolutely pitch black. Just from, I think we took our shoes off at one point and we're like walking. So we both like wash our feet in the shower, and then we go to bed, and then I hear my poor friend's alarm go off at like 5, like 3 hours later.
And we had already agreed the previous night that she would just Uber herself to the airport because it was only about a mile away from where we were staying, so it was just easier.
I like say a sleepy goodbye to her. She goes off. I still can't believe all of that happened, and that we're gonna totally miss Miley had I not like thought quick and like figured out a different way in. The fact that we like went to 2 different clubs, like skipped the line, met cool people, had a really cool experience, and I did it all with one of my really good friends who again like made the quick decision to like fly the day of and like do this really cool spontaneous thing. Like, it just kind of, I look at that day and that night and I'm like, wow, like I was really living. Like, I was really doing what people see in movies and what you see on TikTok, and it felt really good compared to what I was gonna do of like doing nothing or just hanging out with that one guy and like living off of his life and his friends. It's like, no, I went and I did my own thing and had a really good time doing it.
And that's the story of how I finessed my friend and I into Miley Cyrus. Don't forget to follow me on TikTok and Instagram at What the Frick Podcast, and I will see you next week.